My name is Frank Weltner, and I would like to welcome you to Zionist News. It's amazing to me how every day there are more and more news stories connected to Zionism around the world. I would have thought by now that this all would have calmed down, but it keeps getting busier and busier. Pat Robertson, who's one of the leaders of Zionist Christianity, who has the 700 Club on CBS television, has come out in favor of Rudolph Giuliani, who is a Roman Catholic, who's been married 3 times, and who supports abortion. All of these things are situations which the Republican Party doesn't really want to address. It's not that they don't like Republicans, but they don't like people getting divorced, and they don't like abortion. The really interesting thing is that many Catholics, many Protestants do have abortions, they do get divorced, and more than 50% of the marriages in the United States don't last for the lifetime of the persons getting married. So there's a lot of hypocrisy here. But what in the world do the Christians have to vote for if the person being supported by the Christians, number 1, believes in abortion, and number 2, has been divorced 3 times? And when you think about it, I think that you have to agree that the Republicans don't want to win the presidency this year. Now you say, why wouldn't they want to run the presidency this year? And the reason is that it is time for the Democrats to have a crack at it. You see, you can't run a pretend democracy in a plutarchy like we have in the United States, a nation of warmongers who make a lot of their money producing weapons of mass destruction and rifles and cannon and airplanes to sell to people, and then to stir them up and try to get them to have war so they'll use them up so you can sell more to them. And in order to do this, you have to have the fiction that there's a democracy in place. The American people demand to think, at least in their fantasies, that there's some reason to go and vote. And if the Democrats win for decades, there's no reason to vote. And if the Republicans win for decades, well, again, there's absolutely no reason to vote. So the Christians know that it's time for the non-Christians to win. The Democrats, although some of them are Christians, obviously. But it's their turn to win and to hold the presidency for 8 years, at which point they will cooperate so the Republicans can win the next 8 years. And if you look at what's happened in America, you'll see that every 8 years, almost without fail, the parties are switched in the White House. And that is the only reason that I can come up with, is that it's planned. So, by bringing Giuliani in there, the Christians won't have any reason to vote Republican, so some of them will switch over to the Democrats, and the Democrats will win by 1 or 2 percentage points. That's got to be the reason. At any rate, that's my interpretation of it. Then you have the problem of Russia and the United States. Now, for 50 years, Russia and the United States were at odds with each other in the Cold War, and it was a very nice thing for the President of Russia and the President of the United States. They knew exactly who their pretend enemy was. It wasn't that we were really enemies. It was just that we pretended to be. And it was safe, although we really bothered our people a lot by telling them that, well, the Russians might send nukes over here to kill you and your children overnight. And we did the same thing to them, telling them that, well, we might send our nukes over and kill you and your children in the middle of the night. And it caused a lot of neurosis in both countries. Well, that's in the past. But now the United States has tried to make the Islamics into a gooby-gobby like Russia, and it just hasn't worked really too well. It's much better to do it with Russia because the Muslims have a different culture and they don't cooperate the way that Russia does. Russia's a very good enemy. They'll have the same nuclear weapons that we have, etc., etc. It looks to me like India, Pakistan, Iran, these people are trying to get nuclear weapons so they can sustain a Cold War against the United States and be the subject of every newspaper article in the world for the next 50 years. But it's a little dangerous to have folks like this, who aren't Western Europeans, having those kind of weapons. So we naturally would like to get Russia back as our enemy, and guess what? It seems like that's actually happened now. We are going to put some missiles in Poland and in Czechoslovakia, which has really rattled Russia. The Russian Congress has reciprocated for the violence being done to Russia with missiles in Czechoslovakia, or at least the threat of them, by having their Congress vote to do away with the arms treaty that we've had with Russia for about 15 years. So Russia will be able to start an arms race, we'll be able to start an arms race, and we'll be off to the races. It'll be fun. We can pay billions and billions of dollars to make bizarre high-tech space weapons, and so can Russia. And it might be a good thing, because then we can waste all of this money without helping our people to get medicine and so forth, which we are very, very unlikely to do anyway, because we're kind of a fascist country that doesn't like to help its people. Well, we claim that we're humanitarian and this and that, but we're really much better at blowing people up in their cities than in taking care of our own people medically. Although we do have a tremendous propaganda effort going constantly to tell our people how much better their system is than the ones in England and Germany and France and everywhere else in the world, where people don't have to pay for their medicine, except here in the scrawny little United States, where all of the Zionists running the medical professions, well, guess what? They like to be paid huge sums of money, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 times what they would get paid if they were living, let's say, in Germany or France. That's what they want. They want to make a lot of money, and they want you, if necessary, to lose your house, to lose your job, to lose your wife, to lose your husband over medical bills. And you're just stupid enough to allow them to do that. And if you say that you don't like it, well, I guess you're anti-Semitic, aren't you? At any rate, those are the things that are in the news today. Russia saying that it's getting rid of the arms treaty that they've had with the United States, and they're going to start producing again. And we also have Pakistan pulling away from its people so that its friendship with the United States and its dictator Musharraf, who has absolutely no friend in the world except for President Bush, has been able to destroy his democracy and cause chaos there, because we're the ones that are paying him and his people aren't. We also have the most promising political leader in Afghanistan being murdered in a mall bombing. He was in his 30s, and he was a person who was trying to get all of the Afghani people together, whether they were Muslims or Christians or Jews or what they were, so they could all have a nation without having all of these civil wars. Well, guess what? We didn't like that, so we made sure that he was assassinated. And 150 other people died along with him at a mall, and that's just the way that it is. But it's good for American foreign policy, because we want to have chaos in the Middle East so that our colonial system over there will continue to work for us. By us, I don't mean you, and I don't mean me. I mean these fascist people who run the United States, the bankers, the oil barons, all of these folks that want to screw you and screw me, who want to print money for loans that they get for nothing and then loan to us at a high amount of money. So eventually, if there's some kind of chaos like what's going on now, which is economic, you and I might lose our homes. Well, that doesn't bother them unless the chaos gets really bad, in which case they will lose their banks. And then the caterwauling from the Zionists will reach the sky. It'll just be a twitter of noise and screaming, because they scream very, very well. Same with the oil people. They want to continue to raise the price of oil. Now, they've said that within a month or two it's going to be up to $4 a gallon, and then before next year's over it'll probably be $5, $6, $7 a gallon, at which point the United States may kind of grind to a halt. Well, you see, you're allowing these people to do this because it doesn't cost a penny more to pull that filthy oil out of the ground through these tubes that are like straws that they suck on and bring it up. It's not costing them any more. Oh, they're claiming they don't have enough oil, they don't have this. Well, who really cares? There's enough oil for the United States. There's enough oil for Europe. They are just simply exploiting the situation to screw every one of us out of as much money as they can get into their greedy, capitalist pig pockets. Well, I would like to thank you for joining me today for Zionist News, and I would like to invite you to return tomorrow for more Zionist News.